So welcome to We Are Triathletes seminar. I'm really excited today to have Jodie Robertson with us. Jodie is a professional triathlete, and she's from Long Island, which is really awesome. And I'm really looking forward to to having a conversation with Jodie. So without further ado, here's Jodie.
Thanks for having me on, Hilary. I'm so excited to share with you guys today.
So talk to us a little bit about your background. I mean, how did you get started? Were you originally a runner? And I know you were. But were you running in high school or middle school? And, then went on. Could you just kind of share that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So in middle school and then in the beginning of high school, I played different sports like soccer and basketball. I did track as well. And then later on in high school, I transitioned to doing all 3 seasons of running. So I did cross country, winter track, and spring track, probably my junior and senior year in high school. And then following that in college, I went to college for music education and performance. So I kind of focused more of my energies on that. And I also ran cross country there, but we didn't have a track team. So I just cross country throughout college, which was a blast. It was kind of nice. It was just pretty low key, and just had a good time with a small team and enjoyed running up there. And then post-collegiately, I took some time where I had some injuries and stuff, so I didn't run after college for a while. And then eventually got back into running probably in 2009, 2010. And from there, I focused more on long distance stuff. I did the marathon primarily was my focus. And I qualified for the 2012 and 2016 Olympic trials in the marathon. So.
Wow, that is so cool. And you're running these marathons pretty fast. I mean, it was 2 hours and.
So I ran a 2:34. Was my fastest marathon. So, yeah.
I can't even do a half marathon in that time. It's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, all right. So now you're a runner, and you're doing that as for fun. You're teaching, and.
Mm-hmm.
How do you decide that you want to do triathlons? Where did that come up?
I still had was battling a lot of running injuries. I had a lot of stress fractures and just felt like I kept running in circles with injuries, and I never was getting what I wanted with running, because I just kept having to take steps back, and the consistency wasn't there with my program because of injuries. So I would always start biking a little. I had a road bike at the time, and I would just go out and kind of spin around town with friends, nothing too crazy. And during one of my injuries, and it was, I guess, the summer of 2014, I was I'm going to sign up for a triathlon. And so I just decided that I would sign up for Ironman Lake Placid. So that was the first one I signed up for, but I really had no idea how to swim or anything. And then I still focused on the marathon even in 2014 and to the beginning of 2015. Those are actually when I ran my 2 fastest marathons. I was doing a little bit of swimming and biking, but just kind of for fun. It was very unstructured. My main focus was still on running. And then after I ran the LA Marathon in March of 2015, and after that, I really shifted focus towards doing a little bit more triathlon stuff. And I raced 2 halves. I did Quassy was my first half, and then I did Syracuse 70.3 in June of 2015. And then following that, I was supposed to do Ironman Lake Placid that summer, but I ended up getting hit by a car while I was out riding my bike. So that quickly got derailed as I broke my clavicle in 3 pieces and had to have surgery. So, so that was pretty much my first year. I did 2 triathlons.
Yeah, so you did 2 triathlons, 70.3, which, some people wait years before they get to that point, right?
Yeah.
And you won both of them. That's the most amazing part. How did that feel?
It was great. I mean, I really embraced it after having focused so much on running, and I logged like lots of running miles. So I think I had a really good base underneath me. And when I transitioned to the other sports, I definitely had that advantage for sure. But I enjoyed the change, especially, and everything was so new. So I feel like when you enter into new things, you make gains pretty quickly in some sports that are new. So it was kind of it was just fun. You're just enjoying the progress you made, and yeah, the day to day.
So you win these two amazingly hard, okay, which I know they're really hard, both of them. Um, how did you decide? I mean, when was it that you decided to go professional?
So after I broke my clavicle and I had surgery, I was kind of just sitting around, not doing much because I couldn't do much. So I was sitting around, I was kind of like, well, what do I want to do now? Like, where do I want to focus? I qualified for the 2016 trials in the marathon, but I just really embraced the whole triathlon. And I mean, I wanted to pursue it. I wanted to see what I could do in that. I felt like I could do more with running, but it just wasn't where my passion was anymore. My passion really was now in triathlon. So at that point, I did a lot of research, even throughout the year, like throughout 2015, I had been looking a lot at like different coaching opportunities and things like that. So I found the person I wanted to work with, Jesse Kropelnicki from QT2 Systems. And I reached out to him and I convinced him that he should coach me, even though I'd only done 2 triathlons. So, and then pretty much went from there, and just put all my focus on triathlon in 2016.
Now, do you think, I mean, do you still feel that your running is your strongest three, or?
Definitely put a lot more focus on the other sports because I had such a solid background in running that I came from. So, I feel like there's always, like, we have to describe it as like different dials that you can turn at different times. So there's so many dials to turn, and it's about like which one you turn when. And that's because you can't change everything all at once. So upon entering the sport, and it still is, there's a huge focus on like getting my swim stronger, because that's obviously I just started swimming in like less than 3 years ago. So, so there's a huge focus there, and then like gaining strength on the bike. So we definitely are kind of starting to ramp up my run again a little bit, after kind of leaving it behind to work on some other things a little bit.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So talk to us about, I mean, now you've been a professional now for almost 2 years.
Yeah, this is my 2nd year.
And you just won Ironman Texas, which was awesome. That was
it was a fabulous experience, yes.
Wow, awesome. So talk to us, I mean, you have such a hefty race schedule. I looked at your schedule. I can't believe how many races you did and last year. What were some of the biggest mistakes that you made that you could share with We Are Triathletes, and maybe help them not make the same mistakes?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I learned is that those mistakes, I think you have to really look at as like an opportunity to grow and learn from them, because you're going to make mistakes, and especially with 3 sports and all the busy lives that I work full time too, teaching and also race triathlons. So I know what it's like to have a family and everything like that. I mean, there's so many things going on. So I think you have to give yourself a break sometimes in those mistakes and kind of figure out how you can turn it around and flip it to make okay, how am I going to make the most out of a mistake? So I think that's one of the things that I've definitely learned. I think in the beginning I used to look at it oh, this is horrible and so negative, but you have to turn those negatives into a positive. And when you're able to do that, I think you can really learn from them the most. And then, so some of the biggest negatives that I've had that I feel like I've had to flip around are everything being like perfect and the way you want it to go. That's really hard for me. Like, I want everything to be perfect. I want every training session to have like a better number than the training session before that. And it's not a straight line, you know, it's not going to go. You're going to have ebbs and flows. You're going to have stresses in training and in life and along the way. So I think it's really important to kind of let the perfection go and kind of know, like, over the months and like of your cycle, like you're going to keep improving. And as long as that's heading in the right direction, like, you're going to have ups and downs within that as well. So I think that was my biggest mistake, is thinking that everything had to be better than the day before and kind of stressing about like, oh my gosh, it's not better or perfect.
I bet most people are like that, right? You know, what you said was so spot on about turning the negatives into positives. And, you know, I wonder, like, how do you deal with all those negative self-talk? I mean, I'm sure you have that in the back of your head, like when you are racing or even training, like, oh, I'm not going to do it good, or whatever you're thinking. I mean, for me, I know I'm thinking, what am I doing this for? Like, how did I get here? You know, kind of thing. Yeah. You know, so
it's funny, like, that you asked. I feel like this is probably one of the biggest things that I'm working on, like, right now. It's just like reframing my thinking. So like, for example, like right now I have just like a little bit of like a cold, and so like that combined with other factors, I like going to my training sessions. I still, like yesterday, for example, had a swim set, and like, instead of being like, oh my gosh, I'm not hitting the same swim times I hit last week, and just like being so negative about it, it was like, okay, like today I'm just going to reframe this and be like, today I'm going to take what my body can give me. I'm going to focus on having a high elbow, a shallow hand, pull my body over my hand, like control what I can control, instead of getting caught up when I rode my bike, like, I'm not putting out the watts I want to put out. Like, I can't do this. I'm not doing what I should. I mean, there's a lot of shoulds in our lives, I think, and not just like in triathlon and in everything we do. So like taking those, what should, I mean, there's nothing should, like, there's no should for like the number I put out on my power meter, like, or for watts. The biggest thing is that my heart rate's up. I'm still getting in an effort. I'm going to make progress. It's 85 degrees, 85% humidity. Like, I'm not going to put out the same, you know, like, you have to be realistic with your expectations. And I think just reframing those thoughts, like, take that negative, and like, if you have to be conscious about it too, like consciously being able to change that negative into a positive and reframe it into a way that's okay, like, for you.
Yeah. I mean, you know, that's why I think triathlon is so much like life, because I think everyone in the world goes through the same kind of thing, except there are certain people who kind of like thrive on that negative stuff, right? And then there are other people who really try hard just to get the negative stuff out, you know, and focus on that positive. But it's hard. It's really hard to do that.
Oh, it's so hard. And I've had training sessions that have gone very poorly because of just the negative self-talk that you have, and the pressures you put on yourself and the expectation of those shoulds, like, I should be able to do this and I should be able to do that. So like, letting those go, it's still a learning process that I'm still learning every day from.
Yeah, totally. So talk to us about the relationship. I mean, I don't want to get personal here, but tell us a little bit about the relationship that you have with your husband. I mean, he's got to be like so amazingly supportive of you, because you're traveling all over the world. I mean, really, right? With this?
I mean, yeah, he's great. You have to have that. Like, you have to have that, so like, that support from it. Like, that environment and the support from your family is so important. I'm so grateful to have him. I think I have the advantage that he also is into running. So he kind of gets the whole athletic thing, and he gets the whole investing yourself into this and making investments, and like, sometimes you have to say no to things, you know. I've been fortunate, like, my family is the same too, like my parents as well. None of them, they don't come from an athletic background or anything, but they can relate to like other things in their lives that they're also committed to. And I think for my husband and I, the biggest thing has just been opening up the communication. The more we can communicate about everything and plan together and understand where each of us is coming from, the more success we have, definitely. It's hard going and traveling. I don't really, even when I travel to races, the only ones I travel for a longer period of time for are fulls. When I travel for a half, it's pretty quick travel because I am working, and Aaron, my husband, is working as well. When I head out sometimes I go away for camp, like for about a week at a time. And that will be like a training camp, and that's tough, but we have to like communicate. And I think for us, making sure we touch base every day while I'm out of town is important. Whether it's just talking on the phone or sometimes using FaceTime is helpful too, just to have like face-to-face kind of contact when you're not around.
Absolutely. You touched on something with your parents, right? So you said that they don't have an athletic background.
Yeah.
Do you think that someone without, coming from well, I guess you would think, because they don't have an athletic background, but I think for the most part, people think that if you don't have people in their lives that have that athletic background, that they won't have that athletic background. Can anybody do triathlon is what I'm asking?
Oh yeah, I think that's the great thing about this sport is that like you don't have to be amazing in anything. Like you can do everything and just have fun doing it. I mean, I've seen so many people get out there. Like I'm very fortunate when I travel to races, I have a lot of homestays, and I just was when I was in Racine in Wisconsin, I had a homestay out there, and her name was Joanne, and she was fabulous, but she is in her 50s, just started doing triathlon like not too long ago. And I mean, it's just incredible. She didn't come from like an athletic background at all. And you just have to be motivated and focused and really have the passion and desire to make yourself better for anything. Yeah.
So in that vein, what advice would you give to someone who maybe is a runner or a swimmer or a cyclist, but wants to get into triathlons? What advice would you give them? Like one?
Yeah, I think be patient, because you have to definitely be patient when you're learning a new sport, for sure. There's like so many things to learn about everything because there are 3 sports. There's little things. So I think definitely having patience and don't be afraid to ask others for advice and help and tips. Like, don't think you should know everything. I'm still asking people all the time about things. So, I mean, I've only been doing it for 2 years now. So for me, I think I ask tons and tons and tons of questions. So don't be afraid to ask and ask again.
And then in taking it one step further, someone who may have done an Ironman, what advice would you give that person? Maybe they've done one or multiple Ironman events. Is there anything that you would say to those people?
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're looking to like make progress from from where you're at to like where you're going, like if you want to make progress to your next Ironman, I think one of the biggest things is just consistency, being really consistent with your training and creating like a manageable schedule and load that you can execute consistently from week to week to week, instead of being like, be like a hero one week and then not being able to get everything done the next week. So I think that is probably the biggest advice. Just that consistency is where you're going to see the most progress. You don't have to be amazing. You just have to be good often.
And then one other question about juggling, so you said you're working, you're a teacher, and you're also, so you have 2 jobs now.
Yeah.
How do you juggle this?
Oh, you have like just to be super time management, like do lots of things in advance, like lunch gets packed for the whole week on Sunday night, you know, I mean, the simple things like that, like the little things that you can get done earlier in the week, you just get done earlier in the week. I mean, you also have to be able, like, just set your alarm and just get up, you know, and everything is a really time scheduled. Like when someone's going to make a phone call, it's like, well, it's either you're going to call me at 12:15, or if you call me at 12:30, chances are we're not having a conversation anymore, you know, like, so I think, yeah. And I mean, people always say, like, I think being really single tasked in what you're doing and really focused on one thing and accomplishing one thing at a time, as opposed to trying to multitask and do 10 different things at once. I think really setting up your day so you can, like, have that checklist to get things done and focus on one task at a time really helps squeeze everything in.
It's awesome. So tell me what's your goal for 2018? I mean, 2017, you still have some races I know left, but 2018, what's your goal?
Oh man, I feel like I'm so focused right now on just pretty much the Kona and World Championships in 2017. I haven't really thought about 2018 at all. Seriously, so I think for me, all my focus right now is really on October 14th and just putting out the best race I can. And then after that, we'll see where it leads for 2018. But for right now, I mean, my focus is definitely be on Ironman again in 2018, for sure. But
how many professionals race Kona?
So I think there are 40 women who will be on the start line, and then I'm not exactly sure of the number of men. I think in the 50s somewhere. So.
Wow. And do you see the Olympics possibly in your future?
You know, I think it's such a different sport. It's triathlon, but it's the Olympic distance and the Ironman distance are completely different sports. So no, I don't think I'll be focusing on like that distance. I think you need to have a really, really solid swim, and I'm not sure I'd ever have that swim that would put me in like contention for at the Olympic distance. And I just like the long stuff, so we'll stay there.
Awesome. Okay, cool. With that, I don't know if you have anything that you want to add, Jodie, just to give, some type of sense. Actually, you know what I forgot to ask you, and this is actually something that I do want to ask you, and I think this would be a good ender is, on your website, you have dream it, believe it, become it. I love that. That. What does that mean to you?
Well, we all have these dreams, and I think it's really important, as we talked about earlier, the whole like mental side of this sport. So, I mean, the dream is like that outcome, but you really have to believe in that outcome in order to make it happen. And then like the become is just your day-to-day passion about it and just getting the most out of yourself and seeing how close you can get to that dream. So.
Awesome. I love that. And your website is beautiful. If anybody wants to get in touch with you,
yeah, they can go right to my website. So it's jodierobertsontriathlete.com. And there's a contact page right on there. So yeah, just submit a contact and I'll get right back to you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Jodie. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Good luck with the rest of the season.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and good luck in Kona.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.